Thank you and welcome to the show this morning. The topic this morning is youth violence and intentional injuries. And we're fortunate to have with us to talk about youth violence and intentional injuries, Alana McLaughlin, who will give us some information in reference to her background, her education, and some of the things that were important in terms of her short life dealing with this issue of youth violence and intentional injuries. Now, Alana, let me welcome you to the show this morning.
Thank you.
And let me also say that I'm sure that our audience is aware that you've been with us on many, many occasions, and that some of the topics that we've suggested to deal with have been topics that might not necessarily be confined to younger people like yourself, but you've been able to do quite well in reference to these topics. And I think today we have another of those topics, youth violence and intentional injuries, that sort of fall into that category. And I also understand that you have with you today a new digital device that you anticipate using in this show today. But before we get into that and get into the area of youth violence and intentional injuries, let's have you to give us some information about your background, your education, and some of the things that were important in terms of eventually bringing you here to us for, I would imagine, about the 9th or the 10th time. Talk about that.
Well, Dr. Haney, my full name is Alana McLaughlin. I was born August the 27th, 2002, at approximately 5 o'clock p.m. I am one of those children who was brought up in the church. I go to John Wesley United Methodist, and it's really good. We're very committed to the Lord, and we try to go every Sunday. And I also go to Robert Churchill Magnet Museum Elementary. Before I get into my schools, I would like to talk about some of my teachers. My first teacher was Mr. Downey at Napier. My second teacher, which was kindergarten, was Miss Harfield. My other teacher, which was first grade, would be Miss Berry, Jennifer Berry. My second grade teacher was Pat Vest. And my third grade teacher was Miss Anderson at Glenn Elementary. So after that, I am currently in 4th grade, and I go to Robert Churchill Magnet Museum Elementary with teacher Caitlin Astrew. My school, we do very many activities. Like currently we're having a pep rally on Tuesday. And we're rehearsing for our rap, which is a TCAP rap, to get everybody prepped up for their TCAP, like 3rd, 4th, and beyond. And so we also do very many activities. We're really committed to learning, and all the teachers put their best effort into helping us achieve higher academic levels and demonstrate strong character for members of our community.
And so, in a real sense, you prepared yourself in your earlier elementary kind of education to deal with the topic that we have to deal with today. Now, as we indicated earlier, the topic is youth violence and intentional injuries. Now, what does that topic mean to you during the latter part of this particular segment?
Well, there are many cases of intentional injuries, but youth violence is basically youth like 13 through 21, probably just violence, like gang members, and it's very hurtful to throw away your life like that and just join a gang just because they threaten you or something. Or bullying is another type of youth violence, which mainly well, I'm not going to categorize it, but which mainly happens in high schools, which are youth from 13 to 18, and intentional injuries. Cases of intentional injuries, such as the Tupac Shakur case, which he was shot in a drive-by in Las Vegas, and the Trayvon Martin case, where he was shot a few blocks away from his home by George Zimmerman. Now, we could get into those cases, but that Tupac, Mr. Shakur case was very shocking because everybody referred to Tupac as Pac or Tupac or Concrete Rose, which demonstrates that he came up from the hood and he went up to be one of the biggest people or biggest rappers of our generation, which was why they call him Concrete Rose.
Very good. And let me have our first commercial break here, Alana. And I appreciate you starting us on this kind of information. And when we come back during the second segment, we'll pick up on what you have to say in reference to youth violence and intentional